Let's do this. I'm Chef Mike Miravalle at Portofino, Utica, restaurant and events. Gonna cook some brunch with Gio here. Chop it up a little.
Yeah, listen, so first guest on this new show, this new venture that we're going on, chopping it up with Gio Gump. Thank you for being with us on this journey, this food magical journey that we're on. Portofino, that's where we're at today. Beautiful, beautiful Utica. But I want to dive in, that's what this show's about, is to who the chef is and what makes and drives you in the kitchen. So on the show, Eat Local, you said that you're Spanish and Italian.
That's right.
What were kind of some dishes that you just smelled throughout the house growing up that just stuck with you through the rest of your life?
So my Spanish grandmother, she actually was born and raised in Manila, Philippines.
Okay.
So some Asian influence there. So my father used to make this adobo dish, which the Filipino style has taken this Spanish dish and put a twist on it with bay leaves and vinegar and soy sauce and garlic, and it would just permeate the walls of my house growing up. And I would just like wait for dinner.
Salivating, can't eat nothing else, gotta get out your pot.
Right. So good. Pork, chicken, delicious. Things like that. Fried lumpia. I was born in Hawaii, so in the summer my dad would do this Laotian shrimp dish with coconut milk and garlic, chilies, basil. So a lot of Asian flair actually. But still bologneses and pomodoros just simmering, and the smell of tomatoes and garlic throughout the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what is just like, what drew you to cooking since you started cooking?
So as a little boy, while my father was cooking these things, you know, it was almost chores, right? I'd be chopping parsley and picking herbs, helping prep, without even realizing that I'm learning how to cook, right? As a young boy. So coming into, you know, school and college, just all of a sudden realize you have these skills. You go and you work in a restaurant, and they're talking about dishes, and you already know what goes in it.
You're already on that dial. Yeah.
You're already on the dial, right? You already know what it tastes like. Just like reading the book, you have to read to get more knowledge, right? Same thing with food. The more you eat, the more you know. The more you can compare, the more you can take something like chicken marsala and make it the next step.
Right.
Bring it up a level.
Right. And what's one thing that you think people kind of get wrong when they're cooking at home? Just something that everybody can do, like a general tip for everybody cooking at home?
I would say relax. Number one, this is a labor of passion, you know, and number two, it's what you like. So there's no right or wrong, you know. Maybe you burned the bread and that's wrong, but flavor wise and following a recipe, it takes a little of your own, I guess I'm Italian, but I'll say in French, je ne sais quoi, like a little something different, you know. What is the flavor that you want when you make a sauce? Does it taste good to you? It doesn't have to be exactly what the recipe is. You are the chef. You make the recipe.
You are the chef. You are the recipe. And today I get to be the chef with the chef. And we're about to make eggs portofino. I can't wait, man. Let's get in this kitchen.
Let's do it.
All right, so listen, chopping it up. We're here with Chef Michael, chopping it up. We're about to do eggs portofino. Chef, walk us through this.
So we're gonna start by making a little bechamel, which is one of our mother sauces in French culinary, as well as Italian, and it is a milk thickened with roux. So we're gonna start with some onions. Grab an onion for you. And what I like to do is just with my hand, I just kind of get those outer layers off. you're left with something like that. That's perfect, right? Some of those very outermost layers can be kind of woody and tough. Now you got two ends on your onion. You got the root and you got the tip, right? Grows out like a bulb. We're gonna leave that root intact.
Yep.
So that our onion doesn't milk, and you'll notice you'll cry less. We'll also keep things together for you when we get into this next class. Okay, now instead of trying to cut straight through this root with my knife, I'm gonna come to the side of it, and I'm gonna go straight down, but like at an angle a little bit, so that I end in where the middle of the onion would be. So now you end up with something like this with no root, and something like this with your root. Now I'm just gonna peel that outermost layer off. Strong. And get down to that nice white, sweet core that's firm. Okay, that's what you want. Now, what we're gonna do with our knife is at an angle like this. I'm just gonna slice not all the way through. I'm watching that the tip doesn't go all the way through that root tip. And I just want one little, yep, perfect. Now I'm gonna come straight down. And you can turn and get that other side like this. And I'm just holding the knife up at an angle a little bit so that it's not going all the way through. And knife skills are something that comes with practice, you know? You cut 1,000 onions, this stuff becomes pretty muscle memory, right? Now we got our little sliced onions there.
Yep.
Now I'm just gonna take it right down by the face. And that's gonna give us our little fine diced onions. Something that'll cook down, it's gonna get lost in the sauce. If you know what I mean.
Lost in the sauce, baby. We know what you mean.
Now when I slice too, I'm doing like circular slicing motions. When I come into contact with the onion, the knife is slicing forward a little bit.
Okay.
So if you look at a knife edge on a microscopic level, it almost looks serrated. So they're designed with, especially that curve, to slice. You'll get a much cleaner cut.
Okay.
So I'll give you a couple bay leaves.
2 bay leaves.
So when we're using dried herbs are a great thing. They last so long. They have a ton of flavor.
So dry herbs use less.
No, not the case.
Okay.
Actually, fresh herbs are going to have more of an intense flavor, but it doesn't last as long.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So with your dried herbs, you really want to try to pull those flavors out. So when we start the dish, like when we sweat these onions in butter like we're about to do, you want that bay leaf in there. You want that peppercorn in there so that it has time to start booming.
Prolongs
And
that flavor.
get those flavors
Gotcha.
to come out, pull out.
Peppercorns full.
Oh, a dozen or so peppercorns. Now we're gonna strain it, so you're not gonna be crunching down on peppercorns with the finished product.
Okay.
Control your fire. Control the heat.
Control your heat.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like that's a big thing that people kind of get impatient with while they're cooking at home.
that's 100%.
Is they just turn up the heat and they want the things to cook faster. Take your time. Take your time. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned while cooking. It will cook the way you need it to. You need the pans at certain temperatures for certain dishes. Like he said, control your fire, control your heat.
Right. So with what we're about to do, it's called sweating. So we don't want color. We're making a sauce that's white, so we don't want any color on these onions. And color is a flavor. It's a different flavor, right? You get the Maillard reaction, which is like the taste of cooked food. You know, it has that umami flavor. You see golden browns, that's delicious, right? We're not going for that. We just want to release the aromatics of these onions, peppercorns, bay leaves, and knock down some of the acidity out of the onion, right? Start to draw out some of those natural sugars. So we have a low heat, a little bit of butter. Just gonna let our butter melt a little bit. Just lubricate the pan. It's a good word. Creates a little layer of fat so that our ingredients will cook in the fat and not cook to the pan. And again, got this heat real low. So if you have an electric you're somewhere low, a little towards medium. You know, you want it to bubble a little when you put the butter in, but you do not want the milk solids to brown, right? We just want this stuff to sweat.
No browning of the butter on this type of
brown butter
technique.
Now, there's all different methods of cooking. So if we saute, which we're also going to do a little bit later with some shrimp, you do want high heat. Saute in French means jump, right?
Okay.
So you're moving fast. You get a hot pan, put ingredients in, color is happening, searing is happening, flavors are being created because it's actually a chemical reaction. You're creating your own unique flavor.
Chemistry.
It's chemistry. Okay. So we're seeing some of the bubbling. That's good. That's what we want. And that one out. I'm watching these edges though. I don't want to see any color. Just gonna keep stirring. I'm starting to see that they're breaking down and they're becoming a little translucent. That's what you want, because we want that nice translucence. The onion's starting to break down. It's starting to cook a little bit. That acidity is knocking down. You're getting a nice tender onion, and those aromatics are starting to bloom. You can already see our bay leaves, if you get in here with the camera, are starting to look more like bay leaves and less like some dry piece of bark, right? They're starting to reconstitute a little bit. And for you guys at home, I know you can't smell it, but you can.
Yeah, peppery.
You're starting to get the pepper, that bay leaves giving you a little round, so it's not just onions that you're smelling. You get that nice, sweet, buttery nuttiness from butter.
This is cooking like at a great pace.
So
it's that size of the onion. It's as much butter that he used.
Yep. Here's where you'll see the knife cut's making a difference. Getting a little bit finer of a knife cut. Multiple reasons. Yeah, your end result, you know, if it's small enough, they're melting into the sauce. The onions are breaking down. You're getting more surface area, which is more flavor. And because there's more surface area, there's more cuts. There's more spaces where the onion is leaking out its delicious juices and everything like that. But also from a cooking standpoint, because you now have smaller pieces, they break down and they cook faster. And what I'm doing to flip is just a push-pull. 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 $1 million tool right here.
$1 million
spatula. And we've come a long way since the wooden spoon. Okay? Wooden spoon doesn't make the contact that a rubber spatula makes on the pan. I'm getting everything. Everything is coming up, right? Not just that one little point on the rounded tip of the wooden spoon. Right? This is 2025.
2025.
Yeah, let's use technology.
We're in the future.
So we're keeping our pan clean. We got a little bit of color here. That's not a terrible thing. Again, it's flavor. But I really don't want any color. I want to try to stay away from that. Why did we use butter as a fat instead of canola oil, vegetable oil, extra virgin olive oil, which has flavor, right? And I would use extra virgin olive oil if we're sweating because it has more organic matter in it that cooks out like you would not sear in extra virgin olive oil. It'll smoke, it'll taste burnt, and you'll lose that sweet, like fruity flavor of a nice first press extra virgin olive oil, right? So we're sweating, you could. Why we use butter is because we're going to turn this into a roux and we're making a cream sauce. So the milk solids and that flavor that butter has, we want as much flavor as possible, right? So now what we're going to do is just sprinkle a little bit of flour and build a little roux, it's called, right? It's equal parts fat and flour by weight. Just going to cook that until it looks like kind of a sandy onion beach. Okay. Let's be a little area. Yep. Now is when it's reaching over you. Now is when our spatulas are going to come in handy, right? Well, I don't want that roux to burn.
Don't let your roux burn.
Don't let your roux burn. And it's lumping together a little bit. Starting to look like wet sand there.
For sure. Feels like wet sand in the pan too.
Now see, that color is what we're looking for. A roux actually needs to cook, and through cooking, those molecules will bind, and now you'll get a new creation called a roux. No longer is it butter or flour, it is now
A roux.
a uniform thickening agent.
Right.
But you need to cook it to that point, and you'll see that color change. It'll actually start to become lighter in color. You see it when I flip this, you'll see it. See how it's white, starting to lighten up like that? That's what we're looking for. And I'm just using my spatula. Gotta flatten things out so they're all making contact, you know? All cooking evenly. We're looking like we're pretty good there. So next, we're going to take our bechamel and give it some personality. Our end result is going to be a sherry cream. So I just have a nice dry sherry wine, very nutty, oaky, sweet on the finish. And we're just going to pour that right in. A little less than a quarter cup, maybe a couple tablespoons worth. It's going to cook out some of that alcohol. It's going to knock down that acidity, but it'll still leave a fair amount of that raw, nutty, oaky sherry flavor, which is what we're doing.
Need a little more of that, Chef?
I'm good. Go ahead. Yes. Yep. You want a little more. Kind of want this sort of deal going on. This little sort of paste. Now you can smell that sherry wine, and you can at home. We can here.
Yes.
You're getting this oaky nuttiness that's playing with that buttery richness. Just got a little bit of milk here, and I'm just gonna add a little at a time. I want to just cover it, and I'm gonna stir and let that roux thicken that little bit that I just put in. Get it all nice and combined before you start adding more. And this is to prevent it from becoming lumpy at the end. Now you're gonna end up with something that looks like mashed potatoes. And you see, again, the spatula. It's just taking everything off so that nothing's burning. All right, good, it's all uniform. I'm gonna reach in front of you again one more time here. Just keep adding it, just cover it. Stir. And let that combine. We start turning our heat up a little bit. Remember, we're controlling everything.
You're controlling the fire.
You control the flame. So I'm going to turn it up a little bit now that we're starting to get into more of a liquid state here. Roux is one of those thickening agents too. The more you cook it, the thicker it gets. As we continue to cook this, it'll keep thickening, like your gravies are made with roux, things like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe roux to people who don't know what a roux is.
Yeah.
Like a gravy.
We're making milk gravy.
Milk gravy.
Milk gravy. Sounds gross. It's delicious. Again, this is a derivative of one of your mother's sauces, bechamel, which is milk thickened with roux. Italians used to touch a nutmeg. When you're doing a derivative sauce, there's no right or wrong. You're the chef. You're making the flavor
what you prefer.
That's right. The beauty of cooking. And as you can see now, I'm starting to get a nice thick liquid here. Start to add some of that salt here now. Salt, the miracle spice. A mineral, actually, right? It just attaches to whatever you put it on and enhances that flavor that already exists. A little bit of salt. And that's a preference. Everybody has different salinity, appreciation. I like to go on the heavy side. One of my first chefs told me, It's seasoned perfectly at the point just before it's too salty. If you feel the salt on your tongue, it's too salty. You want to step back from that. And that's how you'll reach the most intense flavors and really get the most out of whatever it is you're cooking. Sometimes we cook at home and it tastes bland, and literally just a pinch of salt will change the whole world. So let's see how we're doing, Gio. I'm just gonna turn your flame down a little here. It looks great, consistency is on point. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my spoon upside down, and then I'm just gonna draw my finger across. And you see that channel that stayed? In French we call that nappe, when a sauce has reached nappe. And that's the thickness you want it. It has a viscosity to it. Let's see how the flavors. It's good. A little more salt, I think.
A little more salt. Coming right up, chef. What kind of salt is this, chef?
This is just a kosher salt. It's kosher sea salt. I'm gonna help you out here and give you a little more heavy hand there.
So heavy-handed on the salt, like he said. Just before it's too salty, take it a little bit back from there, and that's should be perfect for your salt.
You don't want to feel the salt, right? You just want to taste. So let's taste one more time. Coming along. Now taste mine. Okay. Let's see what we got over
They
here.
definitely put something there.
Starts to pop all those flavors a little more. Need more salt. Taste the difference?
Yeah.
Just that salt is popping the sherry.
That's amazing. It's crazy how like
Cream.
there's not a lot of ingredients in this pot right here, and the flavor that's coming from it, and just being able to cook it correctly is bringing that flavor out tremendously.
I think 90% of the issue with home cooking or cooking anywhere is seasoning. Don't be afraid. Put some flavor on it.
Right. You can always add more. You can't take some out.
That is also true.
So always taste your food as you progress through your dish.
So I picked this dish because we'll get to do a little bit of everything. We just made a mother sauce in a pot. You
Yes.
know, we learned how to.
I'm very excited about that one, honestly. That was nice to learn from myself. I learned to cook from YouTube.
You can switch that around. A velouté is what a gravy is, and instead of milk, you would use stock.
Okay. Yeah, like
Beef
stock
stock,
from beef.
Chicken
Turkey.
stock,
Yes.
broth, yep. And thicken that with a roux. There's your gravy.
There's your gravy. So if you don't know how to make gravy, you now know how to make gravy too.
Now we're gonna do a little baking.
Okay.
And we talked about extra virgin olive oil and the flavor that it has. Nice fruitiness.
What kind of bread is this, chef?
This is just a nice ciabatta bread. You know, you get some nice aeration, very light. And what we're gonna do is just take a nice extra virgin olive oil, whoop, spread it around on, this is just a sizzle platter. At home you could use a sheet tray, a pan, any of the above. I'm just gonna nestle that bread in there.
I love olive oil. I'll take a shot of this right now. Listen, I think olive oil is like one of the best things for your heart.
It's certainly good for your hair and your skin.
Salud.
Salud que setas.
Ooh, wow. Wow. That's a nice,
Bitterness.
yeah.
It's got some heat to it.
Then that like fresh grass
First fresh.
too, you know what I mean? I love olive oil.
Fruity, delicious. So we're gonna incorporate some of that into our ciabatta bread. Perfect. This is going in the oven for you at home. 375, just for a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. We just want to toast it lightly, soften that bread up a little bit, activate that gluten. I'm gonna mince a little bit of garlic.
Mincing some garlic.
Yep, there you go. What I'm gonna do is I got my little root end here.
Yep.
That's gonna be the back, just like the onion, right? And I'm just gonna I use my finger as a guide, right? And I'm gonna make this chopping motion right here. You can practice first, but if you go towards the back of your knife here, you have a lot more control. It's right out of it. And so all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start chopping before I even get to the garlic. And then slowly bring the knife to the garlic. And I'm shaving. Shaving. Now I stop because I get to this weird shape where now the flat surface is the cut surface. So I'm just gonna knock it down like I just did. Just put it down like that so I have a little more stability. I'm gonna start coming at it again.
It's like Paulie when he sliced the garlic in Goodfellas.
Hey! So you get really nice thin garlic slices. Okay. And it just takes practice, you know? I would practice knocking. It's all in the wrist. And like anything that you do, the more you do it, the better you get, the more comfortable you get. Turn my garlic down. So now I got some nice flaked garlic here. We're gonna saute our shrimp with that.
Okay.
So I got a few of these 8, 12 shrimp here, different sizes, maybe 13, 15 is what you'd use at home. Peeled and deveined. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my knife and I'm gonna start at the back here at the tail. I'm gonna slice in just a little bit, if you can see. Didn't go that far in. And I'm just gonna ride down the back of it. Just a little bit like that, okay? And what is that doing? Now it opens up this channel of shrimp where this meat now has all these ridges to catch sauce. Also, you're now going to cook more evenly.
Okay.
Because instead of having this dense, thick up here, you know, the back of the tail or the front of the tail, it's now equal thickness all the way around it.
You
right?
just layered the shrimp.
Right. Basically, we butterflied, filleted it.
Okay.
Boop. So I'm going to do that with both of my shrimp. One more time. I'm just going to start up at the tip. Okay, and I'm just going to all the way down so that you got that.
So basically,
nice,
it's catching flavor, ladies and gentlemen.
and you'll see when this cooks all the texture that's going to now be. All right. Keep our garlic here off to the side. All right, now what I've got over here is a dry pan. We're not going to start with anything in our pan. I want my pan to get hot.
Dry pan, get the pan hot.
No
Dry pan, get the
oil.
pan hot.
Get the pan hot first.
Dry pan, get the pan hot.
And you can feel it.
Yes, this is the universal. What is my pan temperature at right now? Right here.
Use the back of your hand. Don't touch the pan, man. You can feel that heat. Front of your hand is all callous, right? The back is not. That's where you're gonna feel your heat. Feels like we're getting up there. Let's use about a tablespoon of oil here. Okay, now we can look at the viscosity of this oil. It's moving like water, so we know our pan is hot. And be careful. I mean, if you need to use a towel, you're cooking with gas, whatever the case. If you've cooked before and you have seasoned hands, maybe you don't. So I can see some of the smoke coming off now. I just used the canola oil, a vegetable oil, a 90-10 oil that can take some heat, can get up there before it starts to smoke and lose its flavor and get upper in flavor. And now I'm going to start with my shrimp. Carefully lay them in there and get that sear. And you're going to see that butterfly, that slice that we made. That shrimp is going to open right up. You can already see it here on this guy. See how they're curling like that? And now your shrimp got a whole new side. I'm going to flip it over. We're moving fast now. We're sauteing. But we got some color like we talked about earlier. The Maillard reaction. It's a chemical reaction that's creating flavor. All right. Now I'm going to throw my garlic in. I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. Another circular motions. Why circular motions? You're making sure the food is unstuck. You're moving it around to the hot part of the pan. So you're not just sitting in this one part, and this part of the pan is getting screaming hot. we're using the heat everywhere in the pan, right? I start to see some color on my garlic. I'm gonna reach in front of you real quick. I'm gonna go for that sherry wine again.
Okay.
We're gonna deglaze the pan now. That yellow fawn, that golden flavor that we deglaze the pan. That's just molecularly bonded to our pan. We're gonna use an alcohol to pull that off, called the fond, and it is pure flavor, right? It molecularly bonds to the pan. So you need something to lift it off, and that's what deglazing is. And then alcohol works very well. But even a water, any sort of liquid will help lift that off the pan. Okay. Now I've got my shrimp. We're gonna take some of that sauce we made earlier. Put some of that in there. And we're just adding more flavor to that sauce that we already made delicious. Getting those shrimp hanging out in there with it. Let's take our rubber spatula.
More than that, chef?
Yeah, give me that. Just thinning it out a little bit with some cream. Cool, simple. Now you got sherry shrimp.
Sherry shrimp. Thoroughly impressed. Follow along, make this dish at home, okay? Show us in the comment section, let us know how it is. Take a picture on Instagram or Facebook and tag us in it.
And what I have is water, bringing it to a boil, and then I'm going to turn it down. Poaching is not boiling. You don't want it bubbling. You don't want those air bubbles moving your egg around and knocking up your protein. And I put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in it. You can use distilled vinegar. I wouldn't use balsamic vinegar, but you know, you get brown eggs. Kind of tastes a little funny. Okay, then I'm just gonna stir it.
Just get that vortex going.
A little vortex, get a little current in there, which is gonna knock the egg over itself. So you get a nice full. And you can see that just gentle current is kind of helping keep things together. Another thing, that acid from the vinegar is going to instantly tighten the protein structure of the whites and prevent it from, if you just cracked it into a pot of water, you'll notice the white will just kind of bleed all into the water. So having acidity to the water will tighten and coagulate the proteins of the egg white. So you can poach your egg within that little area. See, as you can already see, it almost looks like a cell. Use just a little bit of that oil we had earlier. And enough to lubricate the pan. Just create a nice non-stick layer there. Get the hot label and plant it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with some artichoke hearts. Got this nice cut face. Put that face down. A couple of those guys in there.
Face down.
Oh.
No face, no case.
Kind of want to like lay them away from you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to take some of the baked prosciutto we've got sliced very thin. And I'm just going to warm that up. We're already almost done here. So it's like I said, saute a quick jump.
Jump. Saute.
Spinach in there. Oh. Okay. And a little spot of that sherry wine we used earlier.
So sherry coming into play.
Coming into play again. You gotta have time to do it when you're cooking. Just like with a design solution. You want continuity. You want to see something throughout the entire dish. It gives you kind of a ground.
How pretty that is.
Look at that. Beautiful. Color. Flavor.
Culinary arts.
Done. Turn the heat off. Now we're gonna plate. So, start with our bread. Nice toasty bread. gonna go right in the middle of the old plate. Take our sauteed spinach, prosciutto, and artichoke hearts. My pan's a little hot. I don't know about you.
It's hot.
I'm just gonna right on top of the bread. So some of that juice will get sucked right up into our toast. All right, so we've got our toast, spinach, prosciutto, artichoke hearts. We're gonna take our delicately poached eggs here, and what I was feeling for doneness is this should be like the consistency of Jell-O, but also the whites should be like firm Jell-O. And so you can see my yolks are still liquid, my whites are nice and cooked. There's our poached egg. We've got our shrimp from earlier. Just gonna kind of lay the shrimp. Not gonna try to get them on anything too crazy here. If things fall, that's just the way things fall. I think another big thing with design, something called nouveau form, natural form, just has an appealing eye presence, an aesthetic that is nice, just the way things naturally fall. So as I sauce, I'm just putting a little extra around the edge. And there's your eggs portofino. Yep. Little egg. Get a little shrimp. I'm not worried about the mess. It's all going to the same place.
Get a little bite of everything.
Get a little bit of everything there. All right. Cheers.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. My God. What a wonderful experience it was cooking with Chef Mike. What a dish to learn how to cook. And what a flavor it brings after the fact. Everything sits so well together. The shrimp, artichoke, spinach, that bread is perfectly the perfect base.
How about that olive oil too? You can taste it.
You can taste it through the bread. The roux is what surprises me. That one really, like, it gives the whole dish a character.
It does. That's the sauce. Sauce is like that. Should be bright. Should be very, very flavorful.
Listen, I learned so much today. Absolute honor and pleasure to be back here with you, Chef. Listen, at home, grab some ingredients. Make your version. Tag me, tag Chef Mike. Tag chopping up with Geo Company Local. My man. Thank you for having me, Chef.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Catch Chef Mike.
Thank you
at
all.
Portofino.
See you guys soon. Thanks.